two-time Super Bowl champion with the Dallas Cowboys, also played with the Oilers, five-time Pro Bowler, Mark Stepnoski on the line. I remember sitting around watching the Cowboys play and rooting for Mark, and now I'm rooting for him in a much more important way, and that is his courage speaking out for 9/11 truth. There's a ballot initiative in New York to get a new investigation going or expose that, a grand jury. There's a lot of different initiatives. There's marches going on, events coming up in New York next week that I hope folks go to. And let's talk about that ballot initiative first, and then I want to get into the NIST report, Mark.
Yeah, obviously, since we're coming up on the anniversary of 9/11, there's a lot of activities going around to highlight the fact that the official story is untrue. One of those is in New York City. It's a 9/11 ballot initiative. This is a way for, it's obvious that, like I said earlier, that we're not going to get a proper investigation through government channels. But this is a way for the people of New York City to create a new 9/11 commission, an investigation of the events, which would have subpoena power. It would have some legal authority. Volunteers in New York City have been going around getting signatures on petitions. They needed a minimum of 30,000, which they just recently achieved. So that was great news. And now these petitions will be submitted to the New York City clerk and New York City Council. And with a sufficient amount of signatures, this being above 30,000, they will be able to present this, and then it can become an issue, a topic on the ballot. I believe it would be part of the 2009 ballot for mayor, the election of mayor in New York City, where citizens can vote for themselves. They can make their voices heard that they think it is necessary as citizens of that city, as voters of New York City, to demand a new investigation, one that actually has some teeth.
Absolutely, and it shouldn't just be New York. We need lots of grand jury, type public investigations, both governmental, non-governmental, to draw this out publicly and continue to expose it. Everything is a step, to use a football analogy, for more yards to get a new set of downs towards the touchdown, bringing these criminals to justice. And even if we never bring them to quote, justice by sending them to prison, by publicly convicting them in the court of public opinion and by educating the public about false flag terrorism, it breaks that tool that the black ops continue to use. Mark, your take on that?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's all a question of, just mobilizing the masses. I think a lot of people fall into a defeatist attitude of, what can I do? How can I make a difference? I'm only one person. Well, just by signing that petition, just by signing your name on that piece of paper, you are, in effect, saying, look, I don't believe in what the government is telling me. I don't believe the lies that I'm being told in corporate media. I demand a new investigation. This is one way for people to have their voice heard, people who otherwise might feel powerless. There's a lot of people in New York City. If a lot of them mobilize, it might be surprising what could actually happen. But, I urge listeners of your show who either live in New York City or have family or friends there to let them know about this. They can look it up on www.nyc911initiative.org and find out anything they would like to about this movement. But I think that, right now it's moving along very nicely, and should it succeed in any degree, it'll be a big step forward. It really could be a breakthrough.
Yeah. And a lot of people have this loser mentality of, there'll never be corruption. There's no point. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a choice, number one. Number two, we're actually having an effect. The majority of Americans in major polls believe there's a 9/11 cover-up. There's hundreds of these polls. We're having an effect. Look how far we've come from myself 2 months before the attack saying I think they're going to attack the World Trade Center and blame it on their asset bin Laden, because I saw them preparing the public, introducing bin Laden. I knew their past history. I knew the FBI had cooked the bomb, trained the driver, given them the detonators, blocked local police in 93. With the first attack, again, look how far we've come from 9/11 that first day. Look how far we've come, thanks to people like Mark Stepnoski, Willie Nelson, Governor Ventura, Stephen Jones. Now, I'm going to skip this break for Infowars.com, listeners. For everybody else, we'll be back in 3 minutes, but because I don't want to waste any time that we've got with Mark Stepnoski today. But, Mark, that NIST report, They delayed it 3 years. The people on the government NIST board are involved in explosive thermite research. They're experts. They're involved in government contracts. And then they had to pull back. They had to say, okay, our last 5 reasons for the towers falling and Building 7 falling are wrong. It's not fuel oil tank. It's not bad building construction. It's not fires. It's not... No, they gave a new reason, a new syndrome, a new phenomenon. We're going to cover that right now with Mark Stepnoski. Stay with us. Okay, we're going to go ahead and skip that break, Mark. A few stations won't hear us, but I don't want to waste any time, and this will have a life of its own on the web. I mean, the NIST report now says thermal expansion did it. A new phenomenon, never before seen in 3 buildings in a row. They're now saying you may not even need a controlled demolition of a building. Just go light a few small fires. I mean, they're having to re-engineer reality. And insurance companies are having to change their whole view just to fit with something that never before happened. Just like they've had thousands of taser deaths worldwide, they've now announced they believe it's a syndrome that the taser scares the person and makes them have a heart attack, Mark. I mean, now the BS, like claiming Russia attacked Georgia 3 weeks ago when it's admitted that the U.S.-backed Georgians attacked first. I mean, we're entering like an Alice in Wonderland. The propaganda is getting so crazy. Can you comment on that?
No question. I mean, we are living in Orwell's world now, where language has been entirely manipulated. You know, language has become, at least politically and in the media and news, we've seen language become a tool of obfuscation. You know, it's been used to just confuse people. It's been used, these slogans that the Republican Party comes up with. It's just a bastardization of the language. You know, it's obviously with this NIST report, you can see them in full damage control mode. You know, it's obvious they've been stonewalling for years now. They're forced to release something. They have to come up with the least harebrained thing they can think of, and even that carries no weight whatsoever. You know, anybody who wants to, obviously you can listen to Stephen Jones, who's talked about thermate in the buildings. They can listen to a guy, Richard Gage, who is an architect for 9/11 Truth. You know, you can get an entire scientific rundown of why the government's explanation is so far-fetched it's unbelievable. I mean, really what they're asking us to believe, it's exactly what you said. They expect us to discount every law of physics that we've ever learned or that's ever existed, and somehow just accept with blind faith these new theories they come out with that have absolutely no credibility whatsoever.
Well, I think it's brought them into a trap, and I want you to speak to this. I think it's brought them into a trap now, because all these other mainline physicists, architects, engineers are going, wait a minute, and now they're looking at the NIST report, and it's becoming like a Copernicus or a Galileo court debate, and other scientists are now looking, going, wait a minute, new phenomenon, new, 1,500-degree fires, do what only 2,800 would do, and wait, the aerial photos from NASA do show 3,000 degrees, 2,600 degrees. They're like, wait a minute. So in a way, they're claiming physics has changed, is widening the debate and backfiring on them. I want you to comment on that. We're coming back live to the full audience. Here we go. Mark Stepnoski, we're bringing up the NIST report and how they've had to change how physics works. And so a lot of scientists and physicists and architects that weren't involved and didn't believe it was an inside job are now looking, going, you're saying jet fuel made 2,600-degree pockets of stuff 5 weeks later, thousands of degrees hotter? NIST coming out and saying now small fires bring down steel buildings is changing everything. Mark, continue.
Yeah, this coincides with the Bush administration's technique from day one. They have actively sought to discredit science and to really argue with scientific belief. It doesn't matter whether it's the EPA, the FDA, whatever it is. There's been active warfare on the part of the Bush administration against science. And this is another clear-cut example of that.
Well, it's like marijuana. They know marijuana doesn't kill one person a year. It's a miracle drug with thousands of patented real things it does for cancer, glaucoma, but they're still SWAT teaming people every day where I live looking for marijuana.
Absolutely. No matter how much evidence you present, no matter how authoritative that evidence is, no matter who it comes from, as far as, credible scientific or medical establishments, it will just be written off by propaganda. It really is an info war. You can present any kind of factual evidence you want to support your theory, but again, corporate media, the Republican or Democratic Party, they'll just write it off with propaganda.
But that is starting. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but that is what we are seeing right now, which is another, by this NIST report trying to come out and explain why something that's never happened before did happen, namely 3 steel buildings collapsing because of fire in one day.